Imagine waking up in your home one morning to find everything frozen solid. Your car is encased in ice, as are the lakes and rivers. You can't even buy food at the store because all the water pipes have frozen. This isn't the plot of a sci-fi movie, but it actually happened in Europe during the winter of 1708 to 1709. This period would become known as the Great Frost, an exceptionally harsh winter that killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. So how did this happen? Let's travel back in time to find out. The year is 1708, and Europeans are enjoying a mild summer. People in England have been sporting their finest silk stockings and velvet gowns, and ladies have been showing off their bare arms and shoulders. There is no hint of the frigid winter that awaits. In Russia, Peter the Great has just returned from his tour of Western Europe, where he was sizing up shipbuilding technology and picking up tips on engineering and science. He is keen to modernize Russia and feels like the country is behind the rest of Europe. It's only when he gets back to Russia that he realizes how difficult it will be to pull this off. His empire is so vast, stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Pacific Ocean, that many parts of it are extremely isolated. In fact, most of his empire lies east of the Ural Mountains, in an area which in 1708 had never seen a single foreigner. News also arrives that Sweden is looking set to attack again, so Peter the Great knows he must act quickly to turn his backward country into a modern, industrialized powerhouse. But first, he needs to get through the winter. Meanwhile, across the continent, in what is now Ukraine, a man named Vasily Vasilyevich is busy preparing for winter. A poor farmer, he has managed to save enough money to buy a small house in the town of Berdihiv. He's hoping to move there with his family, his wife, Maria, and their 2 children, Dmitry and Fekla. However, the local landowner has learned of his plans and decided to block them. He doesn't want anyone else owning property in town, so he's bribed the sheriff to arrest Vasily and force him to return to his village. To Vasily, this seems unfair, especially as he saved up for years to buy this house. He decides to petition the Russian Tsar to help him, so he sets off on foot to St. Petersburg to make his case. As December 1708 arrives, temperatures plummet across Europe. On December, frost is recorded in London. Soon, people are having to break a hole in the ice just to get water. The River Thames freezes over and is used as a roadway. France experiences its coldest winter ever. Farmers struggle to feed their livestock, and woodsmen struggle to keep up with the demand for firewood. As the cold continues and people struggle to cope with the conditions, the death toll rises. By January, Vasily has still made no progress getting to St. Petersburg. And with the roads blocked by snow, he turns back. Now desperate to get to his family, he hires a sleigh to take him the rest of the way. But after just a few hours, the driver refuses to continue because the weather is too dangerous. So Vasily gets out and continues on foot. Within a few days, he is dead. His body is found by some hunters who leave it beside the road. Nobody wants to bury him because they are afraid to catch the infection that killed him. But 1709 is set to be even worse than 1708. In February, temperatures reached almost 40 degrees Fahrenheit below zero in England. Farmers lose their entire spring and summer crops, and people living near the coast start to suffer from hunger because the freezing seawater prevents fishing boats from going out. By March, the River Thames has frozen over completely and is so solid that people go skating on it. Londoners come out to watch, but the ice is so thick that nobody can break through it to fish. Soon, London is running out of food, and people begin to starve. Food prices skyrocket. Across the Channel in France, the situation is equally dire. People eat their last remaining vegetables, and then switch to eating their animals' fodder. In the countryside, farmers kill off their cattle because they can't look after them anymore. In Russia, the cold reaches further and further east. The cold has already killed many of Peter the Great's soldiers and sailors. News of the Great Frost reaches him as he is visiting his new capital city, St. Petersburg. The city was built on a swamp and has been struggling since the day it was built. Many houses are collapsing and the city is in danger of sinking. But Peter the Great is determined to transform it into a modern city. He introduces sweeping changes and begins demolishing buildings. Without enough wood to keep people warm or to cook with, the people of St. Petersburg are forced to abandon their homes and flee to the south. The infrastructure of the city collapses and the streets fall into chaos. Peter the Great watches in dismay as his dream city crumbles into ruin around him. When word of the famine reaches him, he does his best to organize aid, but it's too late. Hundreds of thousands are dead, and the situation is about to get much worse. Back in England, the River Thames freezes over again, killing many people who venture too close. The sun shines brightly, but offers no warmth. Rivers, lakes and ponds freeze solid. Water pipes burst and people can't collect fresh water. The government tries to keep things under control by limiting opening hours at businesses and closing down theaters. But these measures don't work. Food prices rise again, and the people of London grow weaker. Some people try to escape the city, but die of cold exposure before they reach anywhere that still has food. Others are not lucky enough to find shelter and freeze to death on the streets. Finally, the spring thaw arrives, but it brings with it another disaster. With the sun shining and temperatures rising, all the snow melts in a matter of days. But the ground beneath the snow has frozen solid. The melting snow seeps into cracks and breaks through riverbanks. Homes are flooded, and people die trying to escape the rising waters. All in all, about 2 million people are killed by the Great Frost of 1709. While the continent struggles to recover, far away in the mountains of China, another climatic event is happening. Scientists have discovered a massive volcanic eruption in the Philippines that unleashed a giant cloud of ash and dust into the atmosphere. This has caused global temperatures to drop several degrees. While the eruption itself happened in 1707, it took 2 years for the effects to be felt across the world. This, combined with other climatic factors, created the perfect condition for the Great Frost. The Great Frost devastated Europe and changed its history forever. During the winter, the Polish king died and was succeeded by his 5-year-old son. This led to a series of power struggles and wars that lasted for decades. In Russia, Peter the Great redoubled his efforts to modernize the military and industry. But he had lost hundreds of thousands of subjects, possibly even millions. How could he ensure such a disaster would never happen again? One answer lay in Siberia. Peter the Great had heard rumors of a place called Siberia, somewhere in the east of his empire, where the winters were warm and the summers were long. Could this be the key to saving his empire? Find out more in our video. Siberia, where the sun never sets in winter.